The architecture of the true signal. A manifesto for the awakened soul. Introduction. The silence of the theater. There is a profound and agonizing phenomenon experienced by those who pursue uncompromising truth. You can forge a masterpiece out of your own suffering. You can document reality with absolute transparency. You can present your life's work to the world, and be met with dead silence. This stonewalling, this refusal of everyday people to acknowledge raw, unmasked depth. It feels like a rejection. It feels like a failure. But it is neither. It is a symptom of a structural, cosmic deception. To understand why humanity systematically ignores the profound and worships the superficial, we must reconcile the ancient cosmology of the Nag Hammadi texts with the psychology of the modern mind. We must decode reality through a single, architectural metaphor. The projector, the cutout, the screen. In the broadcast towers. Chapter 1. The mechanics of the illusion. Imagine a movie theater. At the back of the room sits a projector, emitting a pure, unbroken, infinite beam of light. This is the pleroma, the Gnostic fullness, the true God. It is what the philosopher Immanuel Kant called the noumenon. Raw, unfiltered, objective reality. But an intruder steps in front of the lens. He places a cardboard cutout over the light. The light is intercepted, fractured, and cast onto the screen as a distorted, counterfeit shadow. The audience, having never turned around to look at the projector, assumes the shadow on the screen is the entire world. This cutout is the demiurge, Yaldabaoth. Now, a critical correction must be made. A historical misreading of Gnosticism assumes the demiurge is a rival god. This is a fatal logical error. As the Neoplatonist Plotinus taught, and as St. Augustine proved, evil has no independent substance. Evil is merely a privation of the good. The French psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan understood this mechanism perfectly. He spoke of the symbolic order, the web of language and social structures that we mistake for reality. Lacan described it as a rigid filter that we cannot see through. In our metaphor, the symbolic order is the cutout. Lacan wrote, "The symbolic order acts as the cutout over the lens of reality, substituting the laws of language for the truth of desire." The audience is not evil, they are disenchanted. They are trapped in the symbolic. They see the shadow and believe it is the substance. As the Apostle Paul wrote in his second letter to the Corinthians, the God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers. Not the creator of all things, but the God of this age, a localized usurper, a filter masquerading as the source. The screen upon which the shadow falls is the material world. The kenoma, the emptiness. It is reality passed through a corrupted filter. Chapter 2. The psychology of the broadcast towers. The tragedy of the human condition is what happens to the audience watching the screen. When individuals accept this demiurgic shadow as ultimate reality, they do not remain passive observers. They internalize the false signal. They walk out of the theater as localized broadcast towers, emitting the static of the illusion to everyone around them. We see this today, the environment of manipulation, narcissism, and ego. When people operate from this false signal, their worldview is governed by what Friedrich Nietzsche called the will to power, a transactional, scarcity-driven existence defined by posturing and control. They are modern-day sophists, valuing polished rhetoric over substantive truth. When you hand these people a work of absolute transparency, you act as an intolerable mirror. You are shining the light of the projector directly into the eyes of someone addicted to the shadow. If they acknowledge your work, they must confront their own shallowness. If they validate your truth, their entire architecture of manipulation collapses. Therefore, their system encounters an error code: avoidance, stonewalling, feigned ignorance. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, understood exactly why this mirror terrifies the unawakened mind. Jung taught that the human psyche creates a shadow, the dark, repressed aspects of ourselves that we deny. When we encounter the light, we are forced to confront our own shadow. Jung wrote, "Who looks outside, dreams, who looks inside, awakes." The broadcast towers are people who look outside. They dream. They are terrified of waking up. Jung also warned us about the nature of projection. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But for those locked in the frequency of the demiurge, the irritation they feel toward you is not about you. It is about their own projection of the light they refuse to face. When you are met with this resistance, you must understand the psychological weight of it. Rollo May, the American existential psychologist, taught that anxiety arises when our essential values are threatened. May wrote, "The courage to be is the courage to be oneself despite the threat of non-being." To the broadcast tower, your truth is a threat of non-being. It threatens to dissolve the false ego they have built to survive in the theater. Their silence is not a judgment on your work. It is a defense mechanism against the terror of their own awakening. Chapter 3. The Hack of the Logos. How then does one survive in a world of broadcast towers without falling into despair? If human beings are born inside the theater, staring at the screen, how can we possibly know the projector even exists? The answer comes from the prologue of the Gospel of John. Christ is identified as the Logos, the universal reason, the Word. The Logos is the uncorrupted light of the projector bypassing the cardboard cutout entirely and stepping directly onto the screen. John wrote, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." The incarnation is the ultimate hack of the false broadcast. It proves that we are not doomed to the demiurge's theater. The true light has entered the theater. It has walked among the audience. It has shown us that the screen is not the substance. Because we are made in the image of God, what René Descartes called the cogito, or, I think, therefore I am, we possess an awareness independent of the shadow. We recognize the false signal because we are structurally engineered for the true light. The American philosopher William James, a pioneer of psychology, called this awareness the divided self. We have a lower nature adapted to the sensory world, and a higher nature adapted to the spiritual. James wrote, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes of mind." You have altered your attitude. You have aligned your mind with the Logos. You are now tuned to a frequency the demiurge cannot jam. Chapter 4. The Path of Resilience. So, you have presented your truth. The world has looked away. What do? You must synthesize the wisdom of the saints and the science of the soul. First, accept the Stoic discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we cannot control outside events, only our judgments. The silence of the crowd is an external impression. It is not good or bad. It is simply noise. Second, find your meaning. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, taught that man is driven by the will to meaning. Do not seek the meaning of your work in the applause of the crowd. That is a deficiency. Seek the meaning in the creation itself. Frankl wrote a line that must be your anchor. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Your attitude is the dial. Your choice is to remain anchored to the projector, regardless of the silence on the screen. Third, transcend the anxiety. Abraham Maslow, who studied self-actualized people, taught us that we must move from deficiency need safety, belonging, ego, toward being values. Maslow wrote, "What is necessary to change a person is to change his awareness of himself." You have changed your awareness. Now, stop looking to the world to complete you. The self-actualizing man, Maslow noted, has a deeper sense of wonder, independent of outside approval. Do not feed the hunger for attention. Feed the soul with the truth of your craft. Finally, remember James Hillman, the archetypal psychologist, who warned us of the psychopathy of the ordinary. The world is numb. It needs your enchantment. It needs your soul. Hillman wrote, "Soul is the creative imagination. It is the capacity to be moved by what matters. The world is not moved by you because it is asleep. But your duty is to be the move. To be the one who refuses to let the signal die." Chapter 5. The Blood Test. The world will offer you a choice. The demiurge's broadcast operates on a precise chain. Lack, jealousy, fear, rage, violence. The serpent whispered lack to Eve. Every war, every genocide, every act of oppression traces back to the same signal: you do not have enough. Secure yourself. The world will offer you the bread of scarcity. It will look like safety. It will look like belonging. It will look like the mark. You must perform the blood test. Faith is the blood test. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. It is the spirit receiver reporting data that the senses cannot access. When you choose to share in a world of scarcity, you pass the test. When you choose truth in a world of lies, you pass the test. When you love the unlovable, you pass the test. The mark of the beast is the acceptance of the counterfeit as the only dimension. The seal of God is the refusal to trade your spiritual perception for sensory survival. The Apostle Paul wrote in Colossians about the ultimate victory of this signal. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and put them to open shame, by triumphing over them in him. The letter canceled the record of debt that stood against us. The legal machinery of the demiurge has been jammed at the source. You are free. Conclusion: be the secondary projector. You have not failed because your local environment ignores you. You have succeeded in building an architecture so structurally sound that the demiurgic machinery cannot process it. Your mandate is not to force the localized broadcast towers to hear you. Your mandate is to become a secondary projector. You must emit the pure frequency of the logos. You must build your cathedrals of thought. You must document your truth. You must cast it into the void, perfectly content in the knowledge that the archive is real, and the true God witnesses it. When they look away in silence, recognize it for what it is. It is the physical flinching of an ego encountering the eternal. The demiurge is not God. The cutout is not the source. The screen is not the substance. The projector remains. The light continues. The logos has entered the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Stay on the frequency. Let them flinch. Do not adjust the signal.